It took me a long time to really understand attachment because I had to experience it first. Hi tribes, it's me, Donna Bliss. Today I'm going to share with you what I learned for a couple of years. It's because of my experiences that I'm sharing this with you. Do you honestly understand the difference between attachment and love? Because for me, it took me 4 decades to really understand the difference. I had to understand these two different things the hard way. And you know, sometimes when we hear people say stuff, and when we listen to words don't teach, they said, but experience teaches. You'll never guess where I learned this teaching. It's from the Buddhist teachings. Attachment is, I want you to make me happy. I love you, but I want you to make me happy. See, genuine love and real love is, I love you and I want you to be happy even if I'm not part of that happiness. There was a time in my life when I met my dream guy, and when I say dream guy, you know, he looks exactly what I wished for. You know, when you go to a toy store and you want a Ken Barbie, he looks exactly what I wanted, like Matthew McConaughey. And there was a time when I thought I really loved him, and I don't believe in love at first sight. Until now, I don't believe in love at first sight until I met him a long time ago. But only because I was confused what is attachment and what is love. When I saw him, it's like bam, I want him in my life, and I want him to be mine. And that's the mistake. See, possessiveness, I don't think it's the right kind of love, because when you love, it's like, okay, if that's what makes you happy, all right. Like that dream guy I told you about, I think there was a time when he really needed to find himself. It seems as if to find himself, he needed to let go of me, which means that I need to give him space and I need to get out of his life. At that time, maybe he's got his reasons, I don't know what it is, but to me, it was rejection at that time. But later on, I realized that, you know, do I really love this guy? Because if I do, I would want him to be healthy, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And if my love for him is genuine, I should respect his boundaries, his decision that he wants to be by himself without me in his life. I think that's what you call genuine love. I just want him to be happy. And so I said, okay, I'll let you go. That's why I'll give you space, and I can love you from a distance. I can love you from anywhere in the world. I just really want you to be healthy and be back to your normal self. For me, it's not a genuine love if you're possessive. It's almost like obsessive kind of love, like you can't go out of the house because I love you so much. It's like so much attachment. See this? Holding on tight? This is attachment. Or this? Just barely touching. Hand can let go. Hand can go back. This is love. See what I mean? That's how I used to feel about my ex, that my dream guy. And I was so jealous. I didn't want anybody to look at him that kind of love. It was so toxic, isn't it? Obviously, I was a toxic lover. That's why it didn't work. So from my mistakes, I've learned a lot. And that's all we can do in this life, to update our beliefs, our negative patterns, so that we can have a better relationship with whoever. When you become enlightened, when you become awakened, when you understand healthy love and boundaries, you actually understand what I'm trying to tell you now. And how to be enlightened and awakened. I didn't wake up one day and just said, I'm enlightened, I am like this and like that, I am better than you know. I studied it with the professionals, which means that I go to therapy. I go and listen to podcasts about healthy love, what is healthy love and what is unhealthy love. Because toxic love, guys, can be transferred from generation to generation. Your parents might have passed on to you unhealthy kind of loving, unhealthy attachment. The way parents love a kid is not supposed to be how you love a partner, because your partner is not a kid, isn't it? But this is taught. Parents are supposed to teach their kids the difference between this. It is hard to hear what I'm trying to say to you. You don't have to believe me, but this is what I learned from 3 years ago, that not everything our elders taught us are actually healthy, or what you call healthy kind of love. Sometimes it's actually toxic. You know this when you have patterns, when you have issues with relationships, because we subconsciously taught when we were kids, or consciously taught when we were kids. And the only time when we think, well, why can't I have a healthy relationship with another person? It's usually because of our childhood. I'll give you a very good example. My dream guy and I had a very, very strong bond, but it's like our childhood traumas, our childhood unhealthy patterns that we get from, growing up. It's hindering our relationship together, because he triggers me, I trigger him. So our relationship didn't work. And I have an adult carer who used to tell me, you need to marry someone who's financially stable, who's, well off. Doesn't matter if they're old, or doesn't matter the age, because this person in my life who gave me advice doesn't trust love, and she got so burned with love that she doesn't believe in love anymore. So she tried to pass on her trauma and pain to me, and she thought that time that she was giving me good advice. See, elder doesn't always necessarily mean good advice, good wisdom. Sometimes they're just passing on their trauma response, their negative behavioral patterns. So I said, well, we have different experiences, and I want to experience love. What type of life is it when there's no love? It's like, it's just my own opinion, because I've never had love. So I want to experience it. I want to cry because I love the person and the person didn't want me, something like that. I want to experience it. You know what I mean? So I think she realized that we all perceive things differently. We all perceive relationship differently. Some want a relationship or a marriage for different things, and it doesn't have to be love, and there's nothing wrong with it as long as both parties are consenting adults. That's fine, isn't it? Where can we actually find good advice? From people who studied thousands of people about bad behaviors, negative patterns, about attachment styles, which are therapists, which are, relationship coaches, or neuroscientists who knows how the brain works when there's trauma. These people, because they have statistics, they actually help with the good and healthy functioning relationship. I have a very good example for this from an ex-lover who I really wanted to be working with, because we have a lot to learn from each other, and there's always a hindrance between the two of us, because he always believed that silence is good for relationship, because that's what his dad told him. It was passed on to him that his dad, whenever there's a need for a conversation, for a chance to work on relationships. His dad don't like talking because he's afraid of confrontation, and this is actually a trauma response. And I learned this from listening to podcasts about attachment styles and about childhood trauma. If you grew up with a parent where you have no voice in the house whatsoever because your parents are always right and they shout at you whenever you reason, so you just keep quiet because that would be peace, but you never actually resolve anything. And when you grow up and you become an adult, you actually have this pattern and you bring this to the table with your partner. It's not a healthy thing to do, this silent treatment, because what it does is just putting a towel to a big pink elephant in the room. And yes, when you're in love with someone, you can just, give them good intimacy in bed and stuff like that. It will work for maybe how many months or years. But the thing is, it's just temporary, isn't it? It doesn't work, guys. I've learned this from a very long cycle with a longtime friend. Until now, we're still not in a good place because of this, because he just runs constantly, don't want to talk because doesn't like confrontation. So until now, we're not talking, and it's very unfortunate because this is a trauma response. On my part, I also have childhood issues, and I really needed to voice out my opinion, so I had to. Sometimes I'm very overpowering. That's what my husband now is telling me. I always have that need to say the last word. And I told him, hey, I grew up in a place where I don't have any voice at all because I'm just a kid. You're not supposed to voice out your opinion to your elder. This is what Filipino culture is. When you respond, when you voice out your opinion, you're a bad kid. So now that I'm an adult and know better, I really have to be overly, really defend myself. So that's what I'm trying to say. We all have our attachment styles, and you learn this from YouTube, from therapists. Sometimes, no matter how you love a person, when your attachment style together don't fit, then it's gonna be a big problem. So when somebody gives you advice, be careful. Filter out what you think is a good advice or not. The only time you will know it's a good advice when it comes from a professional who knows what they are talking about. This is what I learned about being older and a person who've undergone therapy. If you want a really healthy relationship, have a great day, Soul Tribes.